It's always a pleasure, Aman. Thank you so much for this opportunity. So I can see that we have very few people joining in for this program. That means we have limited number of people whom NITR or property engineering colleges recruited. So we'll be talking about, and nobody can know better than you people because you have been just recruited to your job. So you understand it very well that what it needs to be cherry plucked for the jobs in the current scenario. So I don't think I'll be teaching you something new today, but yes, it will be a gentle reminder about what is needed. And also I'll touch base with how as teachers and educators, we can help our students develop these skills, right? So let's talk about employability skills and uh, what all our students can do in order to utilize the time in the colleges to be able to enhance these skills. And it would be great if there is communication happening amongst all of us. It's a very small, close knit group. So let's share our own experiences. So, Jatinder, ma'am, you tell me when did you get recruited and what have you done? I mean, what are your subjects and what's your specialization? Jatinder, ma'am, are you there? Okay, Dr. Aruna, Dr. Aruna, please tell
Yes,
me.
ma'am. Good afternoon, ma'am.
Good afternoon. What is your specialization?
It's physics, basic science,
Oh,
physics.
physics. Okay. And when did you get recruited?
Shilpa, ma'am, I'm really sorry to interrupt you.
No.
Kamal this side, ma'am. Ma'am, actually, these videos are to be uploaded on the YouTube NCTL channel of NITTR. So, ma'am, it's a kind request if you could do the full screen thing of this presentation, because if
Okay.
we go ahead with this, so this will come in the recording, the Google Meet window. Yes, ma'am, this would be
Okay.
fine. This
This
would
is okay?
this is
Okay.
okay. Thank you,
Okay.
ma'am.
Great. Yes, Aruna, ma'am, you were saying that yours is physics. And when did you get recruited?
4 years before.
4 years ago. Okay. So just before COVID had set in,
Yeah.
isn't it? Okay, so pre-COVID, post-COVID, we have seen a lot of changes in the job scenarios and the requirements of the industry. But still, there are certain skills which should still remain the core skills, and we shall talk about that. So when we talk about employability, we're talking about livelihood skills. But it is so interesting that the livelihood skills which are being taught by schools and colleges are now one part of or they are one chunk of skills that employees are looking for. Another chunk of skills that the students need to develop are called life skills. It's both the soft skills and the hard skills, and the combination of these two, which is going to ensure that these students have visibility, they have the required visibility in the market scenario, both online as well as offline, in order to be picked up by the companies, by the future recruiters. So most people change their career 5, 6, 7 times in their lives, and skills that are developed in one job can be used in different lines of works and industries. There's no doubt about it. So we all know that one of the basic things that recruiters they are looking for is IQ, which is also called as common sense, right? So let's look at some universal employability skills. First thing that they look for is IQ, common sense. Most of the recruiters, they when they come for college placements and all, there are certain paper pencil tests that they conduct to check the suitability of the candidate for the requirement of the job. If there is a mental fit between the need for the job or the need of the job or the characteristics of the person. So after checking the IQ, another Q that we all are quite familiar with is called EQ, that is emotional quotient. That is a person's capacity to get along well with other people. In other terms, it is his capacity to strike cooperation, uh, work as teams, having better understanding of fellow employees, colleagues, being able to handle emotionally volatile situations. So long time ago, it was understood that bare number churning or logic or reason is not going to help anyone succeed in a job. In order to retain a job for a longer period of time, we need people management skills. So companies not just look for reason, IQ, abstract thinking, etc. They look for EQ as well. That is the capacity to deal with people, the live ware of the industry. With COVID, we have come across few more cues, few more quotients. The third important quotient that now organizations are looking for is called as the learnability quotient, which is an individual's capacity to quickly adapt himself or herself to the changing scenario in the world. You know, the world was never so dynamic and volatile now as now it is. We sleep with one technology in hand, and in the next morning you see some very unique, very different kind of a gadget with very different specifications available in the market. With the whole world that has gotten connected with each other, uh, the requirements to of a person to deal with even intercultural, multilinguistic, multicultural diversity colleagues has also increased. So you may be working in India in a specific project, but your boss might be somebody who is from a different ethnicity, from a different culture, from a different continent, right? So how quickly are you able to gauge and adapt to this person or the requirements of your job? With every promotion, you know, people are shifting not just cities or states, they're shifting countries and shifting continents. So how adaptable are we to these changing requirements of the world is what is called as learnability quotient. So through stress interviews and through some other kind of situational tests, the organizations are figuring out the capacity of an individual, how flexible this person is, how good or how welcoming and embracing he is towards change, and how not so rigid this person is, how moldable and flexible this person is. So in other words, learnability quotient, one has to do with the adaptability of the individual, and second has to do with this quest of the individual, that how much he is approaching his work with a sense of awe and wonder. Because it's the time is gone that you are repeatedly doing the same work over the period of months and years. No, with when the moment you move from a managerial job to a supervisory job, the requirements of the jobs are going to get changed, and only if you're able to adapt to those changes will you get the opportunity to head a team. Otherwise, one will always remain at the bottom of the pyramid, right? So it is so important for us teachers to inculcate this love for learning in our students, right? The next quotient that the companies are looking for is, or they are testing people against, is called as the adversity quotient. That the tenacity of the people or the perseverance of the people or the stamina and the resilience in the people to withstand crisis and difficult situations, which again, this whole new idea of remote working, hybrid working, on-site, off-site working. I mean, workplaces were never ever so fragile or so diverse than ever before. I mean, so adversity quotient again has to do with an individual's tendency or capacity to withstand some crisis, some uncertainty, uh, some churning that is happening in the organization. We have heard news of people getting hired and then fired even before they changed from one place to another. I was just reading this article when this person had been called to Europe. He was hired by Amazon. He's been called to Europe to join the new, uh, whatever position. But just before 2 days for leaving for Europe, he was terminated, or he was shown the door. He was fired, right? So adversity quotient, how do you cope up with that? How do you cope up with that fall from somewhere to nowhere? Isn't it? So we can't just be teaching curriculum to our students. We can't just be finishing syllabus with them. We can't just be sending them for practicals. We have a huge responsibility to do much more than just teaching a subject a subject to them. We have to armor them. We have to prepare them for this big, uncertain VUCA. VUCA is the abbreviation that we use. V is for vulnerable. U is for uncertain. C is competence oriented, and A stands for something else. So VUCA is the. Let me just check the. Yeah, so V is vulnerable, volatile, U is uncertain, C is complex, and A is ambiguous. So please understand that the workforce that our students are going to enter into is very volatile, is extremely uncertain, it's highly complex, and there's a lot of ambiguity in that. So, we have to prepare these young aspirants to understand all this volatility, ambiguity, uncertainty, and we have to armor them to deal with all this. So we talked about IQ, that is intelligence quotient, EQ, that is emotional quotient. We talk about AQ, which is adversity quotient, one more quotient, which the job market does not look for, but our students must understand that, and that is called as visibility quotient, right? You can't just be quietly doing all the work and not letting or not making noise about it, or not letting it be visible to the concerned person. Out of sight is out of mind. That is why there is so much of this, again, I would say, hustle around creating content and posting it on social media. Because when we are creating content and at the same time we are posting it on social media, we are ensuring our visibility. Because I do not know how many of you understand Hindi, jo dikhta hai wo bikta hai, isn't it? So we have to be, again, let our students know that, how they dress up, how they appear, their facade, their persona, everything counts these days. You may be the brightest of the person. However, on the day when you're appearing for an interview, it really counts how presentable you are. So that is why when I'm talking to you now about universal employability skills, I have divided into 3, 4 different categories, and starting with something which is very, I would say, visible on the day of interview, when there is a fast connection that is getting made between the employer and the aspirant. What counts is presentation, self presentation, how groomed this person who is appearing for an interview he appears to be, how well dressed this person is. Because let me tell you another very important thing, that we are talking a lot about skill and competence these days, isn't it? To be very honest with you, because I work very closely with the industry hires for attitude, because they say that skills are something that we can teach them, isn't it? If this person has an attitude of a learner, He can acquire any skills later on job, first hand. The skills can be acquired. However, this is a very skilled person, but he does not have the attitude to contribute, or there is no seriousness in this person towards his job, or there is no willingness to form connections, right? As a result, this person will not contribute. So what people hire for is attitude, and I'll talk to you about this attitude also. Let me touch upon the skills first. So the presentation skills, right? How groomed this person is, how pleasing this person appears to be, from everything, from hairstyle to the dress that you wear, from the shoes you wear. Everything matters, and you know it mighty well, because it's not about how expensive the dress is. It's about it reflects how professional you are, how committed you feel about this specific interview. When you dress up for that interview, it clearly shows that you really want the job. And it's not just one other day for you in your life. It simply means that you have invested in yourself, you have spent some time on grooming yourself, creating the appearance that you have created. It's a signature. Your How you appear bears a signature. It's a testimony that you are here for some serious business, and it's not just another day. So presentation skills really matter. So does the confidence of the person. And confidence will happen with clarity, right? Please teach your students 5 C's. Okay, the first C is clarity. What is it that I want to do with my life, my professional self or my personal self? When you find the answer to this question, like where do I see myself, what do I want to do, then you build up your competence in that specific area, isn't it? So let's suppose I desire to become one of the best speakers in the world, or one of the best trainers in my region, isn't it? So once I'm clear, I would start doing certain courses involving engaging myself in certain kind of activities which build up the skill set that is required by a trainer or a coach or a speaker. With clarity comes competence. Alongside competence, we need to work upon our communication. That's very important. I might know everything under the sun that is needed to understand the complexities of my subject or practical applications of my subject. However, if I'm not able to express myself in a manner that the audience is able to understand it, or I'm not able to form a connect with the audience, my expertise is of no use, isn't it? So another important aspect that children have to kind of invest into is communication skills. And again, I can vouch for it. You all also teachers, you also understand it mighty well, that communication, whether it is verbal or written communication, it is not one of the strengths of our students anymore. Because in this world of WhatsApp messaging and other platforms, everything is shrinking, and a lot of shortcuts are being used, and the elegant and eloquent way of utilizing or using language for expression is a dying art, isn't it? However, a beautifully created, curated resume and a well worded email can have such a strong impact on the receiver. It is such an easy way to differentiate shaft from the grain, right? So please ensure or share it with your students that they need to invest some time in the communication skills. It is sometimes the difference between a very good job or a great job or a good job could just be your inability to communicate well. So with clarity comes competence. With competence needs to be coupled with communication. And when competence and communication are in place, it is backed by confidence. When you know your job well, and when you know that as and when required, I can really express myself with lot of clarity, right? You are confident enough to speak to address, to write in the most competent manner. So 4 C's, and the fifth C is compass. No matter how competent you are, how aggressive you are, when I say aggressive, I mean in terms of marketing and other, how visible you are. But if your compass is not facing the north, which means you are compromising on integrity and honesty, you lose your goodwill. And trust once lost takes maybe a lifetime to rebuild. It's something very, very fragile. So, whether you take anything else from this session or not, please carry with you these 5 C's and share it with your students, starting with clarity, followed by competence, then communication, then confidence, and ultimately the compass. This is a leadership model which was put forward by Indira Nui, and I think she makes a lot of sense when she talks about these 5 C's. So, confidence, and confidence will happen if they've done their homework well. One of the best ways to do your homework well when you're appearing for a job interview is research very well about the organization that you're going to appear for the interview for. Isn't it? Know certain things about the organization or the people who are representative of the organization that not very many people know about, right? Because that's how you're able to tell them that I am a really serious candidate and my style of working or my aspirations match with your vision or mission, the organizational vision and organizational mission, isn't it? So please tell them to research a little bit. Another psychological tip that I really wish to share with all of you is that whenever they are going for a sales call or they're going for an interview call, if they could wear one, one maybe tie or dupatta or a handkerchief which is of the same color as of the logo of the organization, that creates a magical effect. You're carrying something of the organization with you, right? It automatically increases what Jazong called as the positivity effect, right? So something they can wear, something they can carry, which is the same color as the logo of the organization, that certainly creates amiability for them. This is a very subtle psychological tip. So, followed by energy. People like to interact with others who are high on energy and not somebody who is slouchy, who is demotivated, disinterested, shoulders drooped and neck held low, and those kind of things, isn't it? So the body language needs to be something which is conveying that I was so much looking forward to this particular job, right? And the attitude, again, somebody who is cribbing and complaining and finding a lot of excuses is not who is liked a lot, right? So, teaching our children a capacity to see good in whatever situation they are is positive attitude, right? So having discussions around these variables, it is very important for us to be able to build up that attitude in them. Adaptability, we have already talked about how quickly how flexible you are to deal with the changing situations, and extremely important, I termed it earlier as the learnability quotient, that is willingness to learn. Now, it is very important that the generation now, which is going to the Gen X, which is, or Gen Z, I would call it, which is going to become a part of the workforce, they need to understand that when it comes to mentality or attitude, which they are going to get hired for, there are two types of attitudes or two types of mentalities. One is called as the ownership mentality, another is called as the tenant mentality, right? Rather than me talking about it, anybody, would you like to talk about it? Ownership, what do you mean, or what do you understand by ownership, and what do you understand by tenant? Owner, tenant? Anyone out of the participants? Who's an owner? So, owner is someone who feels responsible towards a certain place, a certain project, a certain initiative. Correct. And tenant is someone who just feels that I am here for a little while and after that I'm going to make an exit. So there is a lot of difference between someone who have ownership mentality and someone who has tenant mentality. With ownership mentality, we feel ourselves to be responsible and accountable for the job in hand without a constant reminder or a constant monitoring of our activities. Right? There is a natural initiative in this person. There is a lot of enthusiasm in this person, and this person is ready to go beyond the call of duty. Very early in my career, my mentor had shared it with me, and I live up to that till day because I know the dividends that I have reaped because of that mentality. He says that every job has KRAs, isn't it? Anybody? What is the full form of KRA? So you have decided not to interact, right? Key responsibility areas. You all have it. I'm sure you have it in your jobs. So our appraisals are always done on the basis of KRAs. So my mentor, he told me that it is assumed, it's a myth that appraisals are done on KRAs because the company, the organization is paying you for accomplishing your KRAs. That was the least you needed to do. Your appraisal is actually based upon what have you done beyond your KRA, because that shows your connection with the organization. That shows how much you're owning up this relationship with your organization. Isn't it? How accountable you feel, the amount of initiative you have, and your tendency to shoulder a lot of responsibility. Please develop that ownership in your students. Or else, on the other hand, we have tenant mentality, where you just do as much you have been told. Rather, I would say you needed to be told every time what is to be done by you. There is no initiative that comes from you, right? And you are just happy or content with that little bit of work, and you need constant monitoring, you need constant reminders regarding what is expected of you, right? So that way you're not an asset to the organization. Like, what are you adding your presence, how is it adding something to the organization? Right. So, these days we don't have those traditional kind of interviews. No, we have situational interviews. We have competency mapping. We have excellent psychometric tools through which who this real person is can be assessed, can be measured very easily. So the outer packaging thing is gone now, that you just dress up and show up and you speak good English and you say whatever you want to, for God's sake. No, this person who is interviewing you, who's going to hire you, is 10x smarter than you, well read, well exposed, very well experienced. So they can't really fake it. No, not possible. Right. So let's develop this ownership mentality amongst our students. To develop ownership mentality, we must hold our students accountable for whatever activities, a sphere of activities they are operating in. Isn't it? Another set of attitude or mindset that organizations are looking for, again, like I talked about ownership mentality and tenant mentality, we have fixed mindset and we have growth mindset, right? So people who have fixed mindset, they're extremely complacent. They only operate in their comfort zone, and it is very difficult for them to step out of their comfort zones, to learn something new, to take up new challenges in their lives, right? They would love to be doing repeated uh, jobs and repeated kind of works over and over the period of time, and they are very resistant to change, right? On the other hand, people who have growth mindset, their perspective towards work and life is very different. They're really forthcoming, they are proactive, they have that hunger to do more or go beyond the status quo, right? And as I was sharing with you, that most of the times, whether it is interviews or appraisals or promotional interviews, whatever you're talking about, because I've been on these panels, so anything you say, it has to be backed with some real life example or some real life incident where you have played that role. So if only we teach our students to, wrap their sleeves and get their learn and, initiate and ready to dirty their hands, they will not be able to do it in their job scenarios. So we need to push our students to move from tenant mentality to ownership mentality, from fixed mindset to growth mindset, because these are these are the attitudes that companies are scanning the CVs for, isn't it? Okay, so on the forefront is the appearance, followed by professionalism. As I said, anything that you do and say, how you appear, it's not about clothes, it's about your attitude, how seriously you're taking that job, and how much that job means to you, which is called as professionalism. Okay? Being able to come for an interview or come for a meeting or an appointment before time speaks volumes about you. It's simply, time has a language, by the way, and I know it's called chronometrics, right? So if you're coming to a location before time, it says how serious you are about it. But if you're a laggard and you're coming at your own sweet time or canceling something at the last moment, right? It again speaks about how professional you are, or how much you were looking forward to this specific interaction. Three very important skills, 21st century skills. One, communication oblique interpersonal skills. We talked about it under the head of emotional intelligence, right? You may be the brightest person on this earth, but if you cannot translate a thought into a legible idea, whether written or verbal, all your intelligence is going to go with you and it will remain with you. You are not able to partake with it in a manner that your audience would desire to receive it, right? So communication skills, no survival. It was thought, with the advent of computers and social media platforms, that now communication would not be needed. We have technology, but communication was never more important in the history of the world than now, because as I said, people are in different continents, we are in different spaces, we are working as teams, so diverse, coming from different ethical, cultural backgrounds. So unless we know how to express ourselves appropriately, uh, moving forward in a job or getting through a job, it's going to get very difficult. You all know it that most of the times, the initial interviews are happening through video calls only nowadays, isn't it? So how important it is to be impressive and persuasive and influential in our communication. Then is self-motivation. People don't want to give you reminders. You as adults, you can't behave like children who need constant reminders and nudges from parents or elders or teachers that, okay, you need to do this, you have to submit that. the deadline is approaching. No, they want people who are intrinsically motivated. And we cannot survive without technical or computer skills now. The digital skills are non-negotiable. You can't tell them that I do not know basics of the computer, right? Or I do not know how to send a mail or how to browse the internet or do some basic uh, I don't even have basic knowledge of computers. I don't have a typing skill speed which is respectable, isn't it? So technical skills or computer skills are non-negotiable as we talk about, as the same is about communication skills and self-motivation. And I tell you, for sure, every company, every organization is digitally enabled to gauge a person on the different kind of parameters that I have just discussed with all of you. The next set of skills are to do with your cerebral ability, your cognitive ability. No company would like to hire morons, right? Who would be constantly depending upon seniors or superiors, or who would constantly need hand holding, isn't it? There is a concept called scaffolding, right? In the beginning, there is training that is provided to the employees to orient them and align them with the need, requirements, vision, mission of the organization. And once it is done, gradually, the support is withdrawn. So our students need to have that ability or the capacity to stand upon their feet after the training process is over, right? They ought to have cognitive and metacognitive skills, which is needed for planning certain things, for solving problems and troubleshooting themselves, for taking decisions as and when it is needed, as in age appropriate decision or position appropriate decisions, right? They need to be creative and innovative and improvising enough to deal with day to day problems on their own, which their role demands them to fulfill. And as we know, there is no substitute for hard work, and people or organization look to hire people who can be relied upon, who are responsible enough that the organization can depend upon. Now, what you see in the last and the second last sentence are the qualities that make a person uh, rise very quickly on the corporate ladder, isn't it? Because these are the people who deliver more than what is expected of them. And I've already shared it with you. If you are doing more than expected, it's so important for us to tell us and share it with them that they need to make it visible, isn't it? They got to talk about it. They got to be sharing it in the intranets of the organization, whatever they are doing, whatever uh, appreciation or acknowledgement or whatever is there. It's very important because always we have been raising children, telling them to remain humble. Yes, we need to be humble. We are not bragging about things, but at the same time, it is very important that we make our work visible in the organization. Okay. The last set of skills, I call them meta skills, because this is again something which is not there in everyone. But if we prepare our students to develop these skills from the college time itself, it is really going to give them a kickstart in their careers and very quick spurt of growth in their later career. So one is customer service skills. Customer service skills also boils down to interpersonal skills, understanding human needs, understanding others' opinions, perspectives, understanding that listening is more important than speaking, because listening is something that will yield us an understanding of needs, perspectives, grievances, difficulties, everything about the customers, and accordingly, a particular good or a particular service can be designed. Yeah, so it's very important that we actually make our students understand that the end users of their service are customers, and it is of utmost importance for them to be able to manage this set of people well, right? Then are leadership skills. Then is multicultural sensitivity. See, whatever we are talking about, it is boiling down to people skill. Cracking the code, understanding the psychological and emotional aspects of the person that you are working with or you're working for, right? As I said, because with most of the companies working in the area of technology or pharmaceuticals or manufacturing, the units are not just all over the country, they could be all over the world. Also, India has been the outsourcing hub of the world. We have been the back office of the whole planet, of the whole globe, right? So that means Indians are working for and working with people all across the globe. So we need to understand and we need to be aware about the concept of inclusion and diversity. When I say diversity, it simply means that people come from different ethnicities, different cultural background, different linguistic backgrounds. Not just that. Um, with inclusion, we are also talking about people who are specially abled or have different needs than that of the so-called normals, isn't it? To so being sensitive to people with different needs, we may be working with a third gender in our organization. Let's not deny that, isn't it? So how sensitive are you? Earlier we used to only talk about gender sensitization, right? Now we are not looking at gender also as a binary concept, right? It is fluid, right? We have third gender, we have gays and homosexuals, right? So we have all kind of, or we may have all kind of people, different ethnicities, very different family dynamics, men marrying men and women marrying women, let's suppose. So how sensitive you are to these kind of very unique combinations who might be working with you, right? So multicultural sensitivity, diversity sensitivity, women or gender sensitivity are important things that people need to be aware of, our students need to be aware of. I again repeat that they would be entering the VUCA world, vulnerable or volatile or uncertain and complex and ambiguous. We as educators have this very important responsibility to prepare them for the same. Right. So these are the skills, and let's talk about how can we help them develop these skills, right? So before skills, there comes knowledge. Only if they are well versed with the technicalities of the job or the academics that they are learning from you, right? So first is knowledge, then comes certain specific skills. So an electrician must know how wiring, and an auto mechanic must know how to repair an engine. A mechanical engineer must know the mechanical aspects of things. An electrical engineer must understand the electric aspects of things. Isn't it? This is a basic prerequisite. Again, it is a non-negotiable thing. So please tell them to work hard in the academic zone, in the academic arena, because that's what is going to build up their technical hard skills pertaining to their subjects. Following knowledge is, we talked about it, decision making, problem solving. Goal setting is something that I'm going to talk to you about, because through goal setting, you can help them develop employability skills, critical thinking, communicating effectively. We have talked about all that. Cooperation, positive attitude, in inter-colleagues communication, feedback, taking feedback, giving feedback, leadership, flexibility, all that. Right. So these are the skills. Next part of the presentation, let us talk about how can we help our students build these employability skills. Right. So there are 3 or 4 things that they can do while being in the college. It will reflect on their resume also, and it will reflect in their worldview also, their way of working also. Right. We ought to, give lot of uh, opportunities to our students where they are able to address and resolve conflicts, right? Starting with families, colleges, community, society. And if it is not practically possible, we can hold things like moot courts or MUNs, right? That is Model United Nations, or such opportunities where our students are exposed to opportunities of conflict resolution. Then, you know, we need to help them set up academic goals. I'll talk more about this after this slide. Please encourage them to participate in clubs, co-curricular activities, and many other things, because other than the classroom, or lot of learning regarding teamwork, leadership, conflict resolution, communication, it happens outside the 4 walls of the classroom, isn't it? So the more they travel, more they communicate with students from other schools and colleges, from other states and regions, right? And more dialogues and discussions, or I would say communication they would have with people from very diverse backgrounds, they would be able to prepare themselves for the life coming ahead. Because our colleges, our schools, or even universities for that matter, they're very safe havens for the children, isn't it? So the more they would step out of their physical comfort zones, the greater opportunity to understand how the world operates. And these learnings can be translated later on into the workplaces also, and this would build them their employability muscle. And the last is participation in some form of community service. Again, very important. It makes a lot of sense. Like even in my biodata, my resume, we run a trust, Savar Karam Sukun Foundation, where we are doing whatever small we can do in the area of hunger and education for the have-nots of the society. Right? It makes a lot of sense to not just keep receiving, but at the same time contributing also, right? And earlier the exposure, better grooming of the personality, or better wholesome personality a child develops around that. Now, yes, when children or students look for their jobs, these are the 5 pointers that you need to share with them, or these are the things that they need to be clear about. What are their key responsibilities, or KRAs, right? What is the expectation of that organization? What role would they be playing in that specific organization? What kind of education and training is required to be able to do justice with that role? Isn't it? Also, in another different way of looking at this is asking them a question like this. See, like, what is that career or an academic goal that they want to set up for themselves? isn't it? And then what are the steps they need to take in order to reach that goal that they desire? So goal for academic achievement, goal for volunteering activity, goal for research activities, goal for skill building and abilities, goal for earning and saving money. I mean, we can have this, we can do this activity in our class, goal setting activity, where you can ask these questions. So, where do you see yourself 5 years from now? Or what do you see your first step towards achieving a specific goal that you desire to achieve? So once they have set up these academic, volunteering, research, skill, and earning and saving money goals, the next step is a map that can show you a way to reach your goals, right? So here is an activity that you can do with your students. Write a statement describing your ultimate career goal. Please, when the college restarts and when you go to your classes, do this one simple activity, because students do not have much idea these days what is it that they want to do with their lives. We are living in a world of information overload. It is so easy to get drowned and split in this pile is a very small word in this mountain of information that we are exposed to, right? So tell them, write a simple statement or write a statement describing your ultimate career goal. An example is, I want to be an occupational physical therapist in Colorado by the time I'm 30-year-old. So similarly, your students can also say, I will like to become so and so in this place or without that place by the time, so that they have some clarity around what bus, what is my destination, and accordingly, I'll either board a bus or a train or a airplane to reach to that destination. Students do not have the clarity. We need to play a very pivotal role in helping them have clarity about their goals. Then, once they have figured that out, the next question is, or the next step is, include a timeline. So, if somebody wants to say become an occupational therapist, right? So, that is a long term goal, isn't it? What are the short term goals? Getting an A in the health class this semester, or getting 70 on 80, or a for particular kind of CGPA in this particular exam or the following semester exams. Volunteer at a physical rehab center, right? They may have to intern somewhere, or they may need to learn a specific language if they want to get into engineering. Research college and universities that offer physical therapy degree by the end of the year, right? So it's exactly how we eat a pizza. Once we have ordered the pizza and we have the pizza has been delivered, we don't eat the whole thing up in one go. We need to slice up that thing and eat it slice by slice, bite by bite. So once the student has figured out that this is what I want to do with my life, right? The next step is to break that larger goal into smaller chunks of goals which are chewable, which are doable, and which do not feel very overwhelming for the student to accomplish, right? So please help them to take one step at a time, and uh, one beat at a time, one breath at a time. We always talk about big things in life, isn't it? However, the reality is, to be able to achieve those big things are first to be broken down into smaller chunks, small steps. And those small steps is that we master or that we accomplish. And goals and resources can always be changed. Obviously, we never thought COVID would happen. Because of COVID, so many people and their careers, the course completely changed for them, right? So the plan B also needs to be ready, right? And then our students must understand that they have to give up sometimes something to achieve something. There are trade-offs. They need to focus on certain things that are important in comparison to what is taking a lot of their time. And so many times, students have to create their own opportunities and their own niches. Again, the resources are fewer than the number of people in the world. Jobs are fewer than the number of job takers in the world, right? We can always push our students toward entrepreneurship, the new keyword, make in India, isn't it? And Stand Up India. So even at the national level, government is promoting entrepreneurial activities, self-employment activities, and we always, and we have a very close mindset when it comes to entrepreneurship, isn't it? Education means job, right? But we can always prepare our students to have their own enterprises or their own initiatives, right? The skill set that would be required is the same, other than few skills that we have discussed. We must understand as individuals, as teachers, and as someone who have to prepare the next generation for the world of work. One thing that we Indians collectively we fail at is networking. We undermine the importance of networking because there's a beautiful one-liner which says your network is your net worth, isn't it? So many times it doesn't matter what you know, but who you know. So inculcate the spirit in your students to initiate, conversations with strangers, to strike relationships with new people, because you really do not know where will this next opportunity or a fresh opportunity come from. I was watching India's Got Talent. I do not know whether you are a fan of that or not. So, the winners of India Got Talent are two people whose partners did not appear on the day of audition, and just before the audition, they made they made partners with each other, and rest is history. And they went for America Got Talent as well, right? So, this hesitation within us and our students of lacking that urge to break the ice, isn't it? How do we help them? So finally, the last word on how to develop these employability skills among students. Please encourage them to participate in all the activities that help them come out of their comfort zones. Debates, declamations, MUN, MOOC courts, whatever it takes for them to showcase their talents and to, break the habit of being their selves. That's very important. Second, tell them the importance of networking, knowing people in the world of work, right? Try to have more education and industry interface at the college level. How many trips in a year can you plan where you expose them to the industry? If that is not possible, please have a lot of people coming in from the industry and delivering some kind of and addressing your students, so that students understand that what the industry demands in their specific fields, right? Encourage them to have an account on LinkedIn. Very important. That's where a lot of business, a lot of collaborations, and a lot of hiring is happening. Please encourage them to know this tool called LinkedIn, have their presence there, tell them to post content there, form connections there. Very important. I had so many collaborations, online collaborations through LinkedIn, because my profile is created in a manner that it is appealing, and I'm constantly posting something useful. I'm contributing something to these places. The visibility quotient, right? And other than that, if nothing is possible, one thing that is very doable that each one of you can do is read a lot about successful people, their heroes, or if you don't want to read, as I said, inculcate that love for learning. Have something like a book club in your class, in your college. Okay, so in the beginning of your session, tell them that together we are going to read this book. Isn't it? It could be about their hero or your hero or someone who is very successful in a certain sphere, from Mark Zuckerberg to Tony Blair to anybody that they think, from Jeff Bezos to everybody. These biographies are available. Bill Gates, isn't it? Or sports heroes. So normally, we celebrate the achievements of these people, but when you read their biographies, you realize the setbacks and everything that they have in their lives, and then how they dusted themselves and stood up again, isn't it? So discussing these great achievers, not just their achievements, but their lives, their struggles, and their resilience and their tenacity and their grit, isn't it? How they worked towards accomplishment of those goals, what kind of aspirations they have, how intrinsically were they motivated to achieve the goals that they could achieve ultimately, right? So those conversations, those dialogues in your classroom really would build up, dreams in the eyes of your stomach, of your students, right? And give them that fire in their belly that if those could, why can't we? Right? So I think these are the few activities, and then encouraging them to contribute in whatever way, volunteering with certain maybe NGOs or certain such things. We have Robin Hood Army. We have NGOs everywhere. We have a lot of people who are doing very good work in terms of contributing towards the society. Encourage them to research in their, publish a paper while they are in the college. So these are the small little things which will prepare them for the big things in the world around. So this is what I wanted to share with all of you in employability skills, attitudes, and qualities to get a job and then keep a job. I hope you found this